Joseph has meant so much to me. I was her caregiver for the last 3 years as I've introduced myself to some of you. And in those 3 years, he has done what my mother has done in my entire life. Shortly before I met Liz, my mother passed, and Elizabeth became the mother that I lost. I went and did everything with her. We went to the mall, went window shopping, from window shopping to going around doing garage selling. McDonald's, she actually introduced herself to my caramel frappe. We went to McDonald's one day. I got myself a caramel frappe, and I got her a regular coffee. As most of you know, Liz, she loved her coffee. They gave me mine first. I put mine in the cup holder. I turned around to reach to get hers, and I turn around and she has half mine gone. And then another time we went back. We would go there very often because she absolutely loved those things after she introduced herself. We went for cheeseburgers and frappes, and I got me a cheeseburger and her a cheeseburger. I went to the bathroom, came back, and not only did she have her cheeseburger in one hand, but she had mine currently chomping on the cheeseburger. So she was a character. I absolutely loved her. She was one of the most sweetest, giving, loving people that I have ever known, and I will dearly miss her, but I am so jealous of her because she gets to be up there at those pearly gates getting the wonders that await us, and for everything that you've done for me. I love you so much, and I thank you, and I thank her family for letting me get that time that I got with her. It was so precious, and each and every single one of you holds a very special place in my heart. Thank you.
How could I not say something, right? I'm Italian. I live down the street. They dragged me and my brother everywhere. Everywhere the Soroki's went, we were there. Like my second parents. And I will miss her so dearly. And what you shared is amazing because that's the kind of people they were. They just included everybody.
Right.
Everybody. And we had so many great memories. And I'll miss her a lot. I'm so sorry for your guys' loss, but I know she's up there laughing down on us and telling jokes, and she always had a smile on her face, even though her life changed after, she had a little difficulty in the health problems she did. She still made the best of everything. So she was a trooper, and I'll just miss her a lot. Just want to say that.
So I was one house over. We had a neighbor in between our houses. Just kind of we just ran through his yard all day. Susan and Ryan, and so we were always that's it. We were always in each other's houses, up the trees, and we were always doing everything. And Liz we were just family, and I'd be over and say, oh, hang out, come on, we're having dinner, let's go. And we just have dinner together, and we just hung out. She was just, yes. Everybody knows. She was the most giving, loving person ever. Even for birthdays, Christmas, or just whenever there'd be a new toy that wasn't even out yet, and she'd get it for us. It's like, wow, Shrinky Dinks, those aren't even out yet. Just a crazy toy. I don't know why that one sticks in my head so much. It was a big thing, but Liz was knew it was going to be awesome, and she'd get it for us, and so she was just like second mom. We basically just lived in each other's houses all the time, running back and forth between our neighbor, and so love you guys, and I know, man, she's got some treasures waiting in heaven, because Jesus said, if you're doing unto the least of us, do it unto whoever if you needed you give someone a drink, you give someone clothes, you give someone love and care, you're doing it for me. So Liz did a lot for the Lord. So
Yes, she did. Amen.
and I love her.
Thank you.
Well, I was blessed to grow up right there next door to Liz, my friend Susan. I always called her my other mother. And when I came back to this area, it was shortly after my mom died, and I got to take Liz to her 60-year class reunion with Susan, and we had a blast. She introduced me to her, what is it, the pork patty?
Yeah.
And I was a vegetarian growing up, so I never eat meat. And I remember when I was a kid, Liz made a rack of lamb. She used to do beautiful dinner parties, just that gorgeous things. And I took a big spoonful of what I thought was mint jello, and it was really like that mint jelly that you eat with lamb. And Liz and everybody started laughing. It was so great. There's so many things I could say about her. And I really loved her. I wrote this little silly thing for her, just so that I can't put it all into words how I feel. But she was one in a million. I just said, this is Liz Miller. Shop till you drop, eat till you pop. Quit smoking, you must be joking. Love for all and full of grace. That's what I feel with one look at her face. An open heart for all her friends. Fierce love for her children and her grandkids. Overboard on each celebration. That's how she showed her love and affection. A bright light in my life and all those who are blessed to know her love and now shine bright on us from up above. So I love you, Liz.
Like this.
You know, I know most of you, but I'm Liz's nephew, David Bridges. Sister Mary Preston is here, and my mom was Liz's oldest sister. And Liz and my mom, and they love Sue so much, but it's been tough the last few years. When I came down, I had this, and I thought about it. Her grandfather lived to be 93. He was at the Lutheran Church, involved with the Lutheran Church for 70 years. And you're lucky today, because this is an 11-page. I guess it's blessing.
It's an obituary.
Eulogy.
A eulogy.
That they read, and then they gave everybody copies, so we have copies of that. So she had a tremendous history with the church. Liz was born in Hillsboro, Illinois. Her parents had done very well in the coal business. Her great-grandfather started with some other people, and her grandfather and father ran the mines until Liz was, probably 15 or 16. And I know, they had a lot of privilege growing up. I mean, they did very well. They were very fluent, and Liz enjoyed a great life. And then her older sister, there was 8 years difference between my mom and Liz and the youngest sister, Sue. So there was 16 years total difference. But when my mom was 18, she eloped with my husband. She was at the University of Alabama.
Your dad.
And it broke her mother's heart. So my grandfather sold the business, and they'd been coming to Florida, and they decided they would live in Venice, Florida eventually. So that's how Liz came to Venice, and she, I think it was around 1957, so she was in the process. I don't know if she went to high school, maybe she did a year or not. She was going to Stevens, I guess, but Stevens, And so it was a big transition. I mean, she was at Stevens. She had been on all these trips. We read last night. Oh my gosh, I've never seen anybody that's been on more cruises than Liz. Maybe Sue went on more, but Liz had been to Europe and out to San Francisco, the Indies, and so we. I knew it was a huge shock. I mean, her life changed. And she came to Venice, and she met a guy named Francis Soroka. So, you know, we talked about, you know, they had tremendous love for each other. And they had 2 great children and grandchildren, and Frank passed early. But I read a letter, and I thought, and this was from 1963, Frank wrote, actually, it's a 6-page letter, and he wrote it to Liz. She was actually, I'm sure Rice maybe didn't favor the fact that they might get married, and there was some love there, and Liz had dated other men too, not in Venice, but around different areas. So she, they went out to California, and I guess it was for weeks, and Frank wrote her this letter, and it went to the hotel in San Francisco. But I think I figured out, this letter, I think, convinced Liz that Frank was the guy that she wanted to marry. In the first 3 pages, I mean, it's just brilliant handwriting. The first 3 pages is about Bob's accident, his brother, which is, I guess he almost had 2 fingers chopped off in the machine, so that was the first 3 letters. 3
In
pages.
detail.
What's that?
In detail. Chris,
yeah,
in detail.
Graphic detail, and I guess he survived that. So, and then he got into a couple paragraphs where he repeated the same thing several times. So he, and Paul was dating Sue at the time. They dated for a few years, and I got to get my glasses out because I can't really read this. There's a couple lines in here, and I told my mom I couldn't talk to Frank after they got divorced, but I know they had love for each other, so I wanted to read this. I see Paul, who is Sue's boyfriend, every once in a while. I'm going to see Shirley again tomorrow, a very close friend of Liz's. I also drive your car again. I drive it on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays for 10 miles. It's all right, don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on it. So that was his job. And then he ended with, I miss you so much, more every day. Our friends have asked if I was really serious about you. You can guess what my answer is. I miss you all the time. It's a good thing I have your picture. I look at it all the time. It keeps me up, it peps me up again. Liz, I'm so happy I have you. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Oh, that's so sweet.
All my love, Frank. And he drew some pictures of people. Yeah, just and you know they were an incredible couple. I mean, Liz loved to entertain, and Frank, I think, joined right in. And most of you know about all the parties and the veining of shrimp and all that stuff.
Lots of shrimp.
Yes, lots of stuff.
Lots of shrimp.
Right. And my wife told me to put my alarm for 10 minutes, but I'm going to.
I was going to say, am I your buzzer?
You can just give me a couple. So there's just a few things that amaze me about Liz. Cleta and Liz and my mom, they had cooks growing up. I mean, I don't think they cooked a lot of meals. Maybe they did, but Cleta, my mom, and Liz and Sue too, were outstanding cooks. And I know my mom, she learned it, you know, just practice. But you know, when I was a kid, I'd love to come down to Florida and have these incredible Christmas and turkey dinners and just amazing food. And Cleta cooked it. She didn't have, and at least I didn't see anybody helping. And she loved Venice. I mean, Liz traveled the world. She came here,
Yep.
and I'm sure at that time in 1957, it was, you know, a kind of a sleepy retirement town. And her father came in, and he did some things in the city that were great. And Liz built a home here, and she had 2 wonderful children. Brian passed early, and Susan, and she had grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and child. We all know Alexis mentioned that Liz could shop like nobody's business. She was extremely lenient and forgiving. And
Gracious is always the word I think of when I think
okay, gracious. But she was also, you know, she was tough as nails.
oh yeah.
My first memory of Liz, I was probably 5 or 6, and my parents had asked her to watch us, and it was maybe just for one night. And my brother and I don't even know if my sister was born, and so she, I did. Oh, I know what I did. I went with a neighbor, and we put the hose in the neighbor's car. Turned it on. So she said, "You're going to your room, and you stay there, and no dinner." And you know, I was used to doing that in 5 minutes. You're out. She forgot about me, I think. She didn't come back. So finally, I came out. And she goes, "Oh, you can have dinner now. Come down." But so I was there for about an hour. She was mad, very mad. We talked about loving. My gosh, when we had to sell the house, and she moved into Harbor Chase permanently, I think we found 30 photo albums. So she had more pictures of parties and her children and
Friends.
trips. I've never seen anybody that's been to Disney World more times than Liz Miller. And then after the diagnosis with dementia, you know, I know Liz and Susan and Andrew and Shelby, their life, you know, changed. It was drastic. I know we had a meeting, and I'd been through dementia with my mother-in-law, and it was a horrible experience because she just she fought it the whole way for 4 or 5 years, and it was just awful. So I was thinking, you know, I didn't know what Liz was going to do because she was so loving, and she. So we had a meeting, and I just told them. I said, "Guys, dementia is an illness, and I know they thought at the time, you know, maybe she can beat this. There's, you know, treatments and this and that." But I told them that this day, every day forward, you should love her just like it's the last day of her life. Because this disease will take their mind and take them away from you. And it's the hardest thing in the world. And I know they did some wonderful things to help her. Susan was there at night. She would come 2 nights a week. And she tried her best. She did good. And the last thing I'd just like to say is the caregivers that watched Liz, Alexis, Zoe, Pat, Karen, and Barbie at the end. Our Barbie for several years was there for 3 days a week. These caregivers that take care of the elderly are just amazing. I mean, they have to develop love for these people. They perform a service that's just unparalleled. And I got to see it firsthand, and I got to talk to them on the phone. And they love Liz because they got to see her when she was, you know, when she was Liz, and then when she wasn't Liz, she was still smiling. And to the very end, I mean, Barbie, I think she had a smile on her face, and her eyes were coming open when she pulled her hand and talked to her. And Liz would blow kisses. So to the end, Liz's love for all of us, she never quivered. It was unconditional. And I'd just like to tell Susan and the grandkids, I feel for you, and Susan, I mean, you're the matriarch now. So you're taking over that responsibility. And these kids need you. And the grandkids need you. So you've got a granddaughter, and Sarah. So anything you need, I'll try and help. But we love you, and we love your mother, just like she was our mother.